What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we'll be looking at the 112 Collective Deathstroke figure from Mezco, and I'm super happy to have this guy. He's been delayed for a long time, so I'm very happy to finally have him in my hands, and I'm finally able to check him out, and he does not disappoint. He's an awesome figure, but let's take a quick look at the packaging here. It's the new style Mezco packaging where it just has a slip cover and it doesn't have the fold open page. So here's the front. You get a Deathstroke logo there in the center, says Deathstroke on top, 112 Collective at the bottom. And then on the back of the box, you get a look at the figure with all of his accessories. And here's a closer look at that. You can see his guns, his stand, his extra hands. And then on the bottom here, you get a look at the figure itself. And these are promotional pictures. You've probably seen them before, but they look very cool. And then once you take the slipcover off, you get a look at the figure, but you can't see him because all the plastic they use to pat him in there. And as you might know, I'm a big fan of the Mezco packaging. I think it looks nice. It's just a little too big and it's difficult to deal with, and I never want to throw them away, so I wish they were a little bit smaller, but they're very cool. And now for the articulation. His head can move side to side. It's a little hindered by his collar thing that he has here, but you could kind of move his head around to get it to do what you want to do. And it could move around just like that. You could get it to tilt side to side. And it doesn't come up that much because of the collar. And that's about as far as he'll look up with this head on. But if you put on his unmasked head and you kind of shift it around a little bit, you could kind of get him to look up a pretty good amount. You can pretty much look all the way up. Check that out. But you got to shift it around and work with it. And then he could look down about that much. And then for his torso, there's a bunch of armor pieces in the way, but you can get him to twist side to side. And it's pretty tight, but you could definitely get it to twist. You just gotta kind of be careful with it. Then you could get it to tilt. And he's got the two joint kind of thing going on, just like all the other Mezco figures. So using them together, you could get some pretty good movement. And you could get him to bend back a really nice amount. Check that out. I was really surprised by that. And I was even more surprised by the amount you could get him to crunch forward, especially since he has all the armor pieces. But check that out. It's not a crazy amount, but it's pretty good considering all the armor pieces. And the way it works is there's like two armor pieces here, and the bottom piece kind of slides into the top one, so it allows you to crunch it a pretty good amount. And then for his arms, he does have the butterfly type of shoulders, but they don't get too much movement, as you can see there. That's about as far as I get it to move. And then his arms could come out to the side, but his shoulder pad kind of gets in the way. But you can tuck it under this a little bit, the shoulder strap, and then you kind of get it to go all the way out. Check that out. That's pretty cool. And then his arms could come all the way to the top. They could come all the way up. The cloth doesn't hinder the movement too much at all. And then they could pretty much come all the way back. So that's awesome. That's really well done. And then of course you have the upper bicep swivel. You've got the double jointed elbows. And the armor pieces for the forearms don't really get in the way too much. And then you could kind of swivel here. And then you have a swivel at the wrist. And then a hinge here at the wrist, as you could see there. So really good articulation on his arms. And then for his legs, you could get him to do the splits. Check that out. They go his legs come out all the way to the side. They come to the front about that much. And then they could go back only about that much. And then you have the upper thigh swivel. And then you have the double jointed knees. You kind of have a swivel here, but not too much. And then for his ankles, you have this little armor piece here that kind of is articulated. It kind of swivels out of the way as you need it. Doesn't get in the way too much. That's really good. And then I think people are going to be really happy about his ankles. They've really improved on them. Check that out. I think that's great right there. Look at that. I mean, it's not a crazy amount, but it's more than we've seen with some other Mezco figures. And I think you could move them enough to do anything you want to do. See, so check that out. That's awesome. If you compare that to like the Miles Morales figures or like the Captain America figures, that's like a world of difference. So really good. And then obviously you could swivel them side to side. So I'm very happy with the articulation on Deathstroke, especially considering all the armor pieces. I really thought that stuff would hinder it, but it doesn't at all. And let's look at the accessories, starting with the hands. Of course, he has a pair of fists. He has a pair of gripping hands that you could use to grip onto his sword. And then he has a trigger finger and a kind of open gripping hand kind of thing that he could use to hold onto his rifle. And then you could also use the pistol gripping hand to grip his pistol. Then he comes with two different heads. You have the masked head, and then you have the unmasked Slade Wilson head. And then he comes with a shoulder harness and a sheath that you could just unbuckle here right at the pouch. And you just stick this right on him like this. And once you have that on him, that's how he looks. I think he looks a lot cooler with that strap on there, actually. And then you could obviously put the sword into the sheath. Let's take a closer look at the guns here. Here's the little pistol, and it looks nice. It has some wear to it. It's just black, and you can see some wear kind of on both sides. And then, of course, you have the clip that comes out. And what's really cool this time around is the clip doesn't fall out at all. It's in there really tight. Like, if you compare this to the Deadpool one, with the Deadpool figure, the clips fall out constantly, but with Slade here, it works perfect. And then you could take this pistol and slip it right into the side holster here. And again, that stays in there pretty nice. You don't have to worry about it falling out while you're messing with it. It's nice and tight in there. And then here's a closer look at his rifle. His rifle looks really nice too. It's black with some wear on it, and then some orange highlights that look really nice. So you check that out. That looks really good. And then you have the clip that comes out, or the magazine that comes out, and you can see the bullets in there. And yeah, that's cool. Mezco makes like the best weapons. Look at that. That looks great. And then here's a closer look at the sword here. And it looks really good. Nothing too special about it, but it's fine. It doesn't feel like it's gonna break or anything like that. Got this crazy looking handle here. And what I do like about the sword is when you put it in the sheath, you don't have to worry about it falling out. Look at that. It doesn't fall out even when you kind of put them upside down and try to wiggle it. And then of course he comes with the Mezco Stand, and this looks really nice. It has the Deathstroke logo here, and you got a peg right here that he could stand on. And if you like, you could pop the peg out with the arm here, and then plug the arm into the base, and then you have this articulated arm that you could pose him on. And this is cool. I always like these stands, but they're a little bit big. And here's a look at Deathstroke on the arm, and here he is on the peg. So for some size comparisons, here he is next to the Red Onslaught Wave Captain America and the Marvel Legends Black Panther. Here he is next to Figure Arts Michelangelo and NECA Caesar. And here he is next to Mezco Deadpool and Mezco Flash. And I think he matches up pretty good next to other Mezco figures. Here he is next to Mezco Green Arrow and Mezco Superman. He's about the same height as Superman. I'm not an expert on Deathstroke or anything, but I kind of feel like that's okay. I don't feel like he's a small guy or anything. And then here he is next to DC Icon's Deathstroke and DC Icon's Flash. Let's take a closer look at the details on this guy because he has a lot of great sculpting and paint work. Let's take a look at the chest plate here. Look at that. There's a bunch of scratches and kind of looks like he's been through a couple battles. And then this ab piece that you could see looks like it's all messed up too, all scratched and torn up. Let's see here, and just so you know, this unclips. That's the only part that I saw that unfastens, so it probably kind of be a hassle to get all this stuff off if you wanted to. But here's a look at the belt. That looks great too. The little side holster looks nice. And then you have the two-tone pants. You got the dark blue and the light blue. That looks really nice. And check out his boots. They're all messed up. I love the way that he looks almost like battle damage. And I love this like articulated little armor piece. That's so cool that they did that. But yeah, the boots look great. Then the same thing here on his arms. You got some nice like battle damage going on. Got some nice details on the fist here. Yeah, check that out. You can see some silver all throughout the orange. Then on the shoulder you have like little canisters. And then his shoulder pad that's all beat up. On the back you got some sculpting work. Look at that. That's so dope. This figure is awesome. Check that out. He's great. Over here on this shoulder pad, you got some like more scratches and things like that. Yeah, so dope. And here's a closer look at the head sculpt. And the head sculpt is pretty perfect too. It's very cool that it has like an armored kind of feel to it. Not just like a mask like in the comic book. To me, this figure seems like it takes a lot of inspiration from the Arrow TV show. But there's nothing wrong with that. I always thought that he looked cool in there, so it works out here. It's not the case with the Slade Wilson head, because that's definitely more comic book accurate. But look at that. That head sculpt is crazy. You can see that the goatee hair or the beard hair is like sculpted, not just painted on there. And his hair is gray with some, I mean, it's white with some gray highlights and stuff. Look at that. That's awesome. You got the eye patch going on. And he just looks pissed off. I love it. I love this head sculpt a lot. It's much better than like the DC Icons one, but yeah, that's to be expected. That looks great. Yeah, there's no real big complaints when it comes to the sculpt or the overall look of the figure. He just looks amazing. Yeah, check that out. He's so dope. I'm so happy to have him. He looks really, really good. So overall, I'm very, very happy with this figure. In my opinion, this Deathstroke figure is one of the most like satisfying Mezco figures, because a lot of times, like, you know, we're all hyped up about Mezco figures and we get them and then we're disappointed about little things. For the most part, you know, I love all the Mezco figures that I've gotten, but there's always little disappointments that I have. But with Deathstroke, there's no disappointments that jump out to me. I mean, maybe not right away anyways, maybe just because I'm super excited to have them, but yeah, there's no huge disappointments. I'm really happy that they improved on the ankles. I like the little thing about the articulated foot piece that doesn't get in the way. The head sculpt is nice. I'm really surprised at the fact that the armor doesn't get in the way of the articulation. I mean, it does a little bit, but not too much. I mean, it gets in the way less than I expected it would. So I'm really pleasantly surprised about that. And yeah, and then all the positive stuff that I was expecting about this figure is there, you know, like the sculpt and just the overall fun factor when I'm messing with it. So yeah, I have no complaints about this guy. I'm very, very happy with it. And I'm always hesitant to say like, oh, this is one of the best Mezco figures, because I feel like for a minute I was saying that like on every Mezco figure that I got, but I really think that people are gonna think that this is one of the top Mezco figures. I'm just saying, I think he's awesome. Deathstroke fans are gonna be really happy. Mezco fans are gonna be really happy. And yeah, I think people are gonna say things like he's up there with the Mezco Punisher. Honestly, I really didn't think that he was going to be that good, but yeah, I think people are going to put him up there with that. And I was on the fence about getting the previews exclusive version, but I think that I'm going to go for it because of how much I like this figure, and I think it's going to be dope to see it like in all black. And yeah, that's it for the review. I'm very happy to have him, and it's been a long time coming, and it didn't disappoint. And if he was held up so that they could make the improvements, then it was worth it, because I think if they rushed this figure out, it would have really suffered. So I'm very happy that they made the improvements. So that's it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it was helpful to you, and I hope it gets you excited to pick up your Mezco Deathstroke figure. And as you probably noticed at the beginning of the video, I had the articulated comic book art animation in there, and that's because I was recently asked to be a part of their network of YouTube reviewers, and I was super honored by that because I'm a huge fan of those guys. They got a great thing going with articulated comic book art. So if you're not familiar with them, be sure to check them out. I'll leave links in the description below so that you can do that. But you know, chances are you're probably familiar with them because they're awesome. They got a great movement going, and I've always thought that it was cool. And it's cool because they really take like action figure posing and displaying and just action figures in general very, very seriously. And that's really cool. That's not something that I run into every day. So it's dope to be a part of like-minded people like that. So very excited to be part of that. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And peace.